Michael is currently in the Blanding Botanical Gardens, disguising himself in a worker's uniform. While he is getting dressed, an employee in the garden sees him, but Michael manages to avoid suspicion. He walks around the garden, looking for the same flower tattoo on his shoulder. Michael goes to one of the exhibits and finds the flower plant, which refers to the exact spot where he hid a box of nitroglycerin. However, Michael is unable to approach the plant as he finds it surrounded by two men. It is then revealed that the men are FBI agents who have been waiting for his arrival in the botanical garden. Just before Michael could step away further, the two FBI agents spy him. Michael starts running as the agents begin to aggressively chase after him. After a short pursuit through the botanical garden, Michael is able to escape from the agents, but he fails to retrieve the box of nitroglycerin. He retreats to a diner in the meantime, where he sees Agent Mahone on television being interviewed by several reporters. The reporters question Mahone about the death of David Tweener Apolskis, which ultimately stuns Michael upon hearing the news. As seen on the news, Mahone explains to the reporters that he had to shoot Tweener because Tweener went for his weapon. Later on, Michael learns from a reporter that Mahone had already accessed his hard drive, which is why there were two FBI agents waiting for him in the botanical garden. The reporters ask Mahone for further updates as the leader of the manhunt on Fox River 8, but Mahone refuses to answer any more questions. He claims that he knows what the Fox River fugitives will be doing next, and quickly ends the questioning. Therefore, Michael grows worried after finding out that Mahone knows a lot about his plans already. He heads to an internet shop in Moab, Utah to obtain information on Agent Mahone. During his search, he also finds information about his wife, Pamela Mahone, and the notorious convict Oscar Shales. Afterward, Michael goes to a thrift shop to buy a suit, heading to Durango, Colorado, to meet Mahone's wife, Pam. He poses as Agent Wayne Merrick, an FBI agent conducting a background check for her husband's supposed promotion. Pam agrees to be questioned, but requests not to tell Mahone about it. She later reveals that Mahone was actually romantic in the first few years of their marriage, until one day he grew cold and started acting strange. According to Pam, Mahone spent all of his time gardening in their backyard and has warned her to never come near it. After his talk with Pam, Michael figures out that Mahone killed Oscar Shales and buried him in his backyard, which explains his uneasiness towards the area. He secretly takes Pam's phone before quickly ending their interview. Back in the FBI field office, Mahone's subordinates, Agent Mark Wheeler and Agent Felicia Lang, inspect the box of nitroglycerin they acquired. As it turns out, nitroglycerin is safe for medical use, but it can also serve as a very strong explosive. At that moment, Mahone enters the room and starts lashing out, scolding everyone for having the information regarding Michael's hard drive leaked. He warns everyone not to talk to the reporters, as every detail in their manhunt is supposed to be confidential. Later, Mahone orders his subordinate, Agent Mark Wheeler, to assist him in solving the numbers on the last swan origami given by Kellerman. In a motel in Elgin, Illinois, Sarah is also trying to figure out the contents of the last origami swan she left in her apartment. After a while, Sarah concludes that her rendezvous with Michael is at a sundown hotel. She calls an operator, who leads her to 3 sundown hotels, one in Pierre, South Dakota, Sutton, West Virginia, and Gila, New Mexico. Knowing that Gila is the closest to the Mexican border, where most fugitives flee, Sarah books a one-way ticket to Albuquerque, New Mexico. She uses the identity of Kelly Foster, who was previously gunned down by a group of shooters. Unbeknownst to her, Agent Kellerman has tracked the said name and follows after her in New Mexico. Kellerman calls Mahone to inform him about Sarah's location in New Mexico, prompting him to discover that she and Michael are meeting in Gila the next day. Right after, Mahone receives a call from Pam, only to find out that the caller is actually Michael. Michael informs Mahone that he already knows what he did to Oscar Shales. In reply, Mahone says that he is out to get Michael because he has been out for too long. Michael tries to negotiate with Mahone, offering to keep his secret in exchange for letting him and his family disappear. Yet, before Michael hangs up, Mahone replies that he will meet him sooner than he thinks. Later that day, Mahone returns to his backyard and frantically starts digging, confirming that Oscar Shales is indeed buried in his backyard. On the other side, Agent Felicia Lang is working on persuading C. Note's wife, Casey Franklin, to help them capture C. Note. She meets Casey outside their home and demands she reveal where she will be meeting C. Note. If she does not cooperate, the FBI will have Casey arrested, and they will send their daughter Dade to foster care. Casey protests, but is left with no choice but to bring Agent Lang's team with her to their meeting place, the Rainbow Room, which happens to be the merry-go-round in an amusement park. That same day, Agent Lang organizes an operation to finally capture C. Note. Lang instructs Casey to stay at the merry-go-round, just like she and C. Note had planned. As KC waits for C-Note, Lang monitors her in a van from a distance. Around the same time, C-Note returns to Chicago to meet with his former criminal accomplices. He reminds them that they still owe him for not revealing their names when he got arrested for driving a truck of illegal goods. In turn, they agree on helping C-Note get his wife Casey and daughter Deed. While finalizing their plan, C-Note's accomplices insist on carrying guns for protection, but C-Note firmly forbids them. At the amusement park, one of C-Note's accomplices sneaks near Casey, instructing her to run to a black Jeep. She hesitates for a moment, but eventually starts running into the black Jeep. Agent Lang's team chase after the black Jeep, but they are blocked by a truck driven by C-Note's other accomplice. Meanwhile, C-Note is right outside Deed's elementary school, waiting for her class dismissal. However, he is unable to wait any longer after seeing FBI agents enter the school. C-Note forces his way inside Deed's classroom and hurriedly carries her to their vehicle. After barely escaping from Agent Lang and the other FBI agents, C-Note, KC, and their daughter Deed successfully reunite in a narrow alley. Elsewhere, Bellick and Jerry have not given up on the money and plan to track T-Bag. They contact their previous colleague in Fox River, who tells them that T-Bag wrote 52 letters to just one address. Convinced, Bellick and Jerry decide to go to the said address. Meanwhile, T-Bag has just reached a bus station in Tribune, Kansas. He is wearing a new suit and stores Westmoreland's money in one of the lockers in the station. Before heading out, he finds a flower shop and buys a bouquet of sunflowers. When the woman in charge asks T-Bag about his agenda in the town, T-Bag replies that he is in for romance. Afterward, he locates the home address of Susan Hollander, the woman he is in love with. To his disappointment, T-Bag discovers that the house is empty and is now for sale. T-Bag enters the house and settles on a chair while recalling their old memories together. He walks into the kitchen, saddened and upset as he destroys the sunflower bouquet. Just then, Bellick arrives in the house and knocks T-Bag unconscious using the for sale placard. After a while, T-Bag wakes up at the sight of Bellick and Jerry. He also finds himself bound on a chair as the two begin to taunt him. In reply, T-Bag ridicules Bellick for still living with his mother despite being a grown man. Provoked, Bellick crushes T-Bag's morale, mocking him for his letters, in which T-Bag has continuously begged Susan Hollander to take him back. As T-Bag turns quiet, Bellick threatens to undo all of the stitches on his reattached hand if he refuses to tell them where he hid Westmoreland's money. T-Bag takes a look at the locker key hidden in his sock and decides not to reveal the location. As a result, Bellick hits his injured hand, causing T-Bag to shout in pain. In the meantime, Lincoln and his son LG are in a car on their way to the meeting place with Michael. Lincoln mentions that he is a target at the moment, reminding LG that staying with him would be difficult. He tells LJ that he can start a good new life since the charges against him were already dropped. However, LJ is strongly opposed to parting ways with him again. Sometime later, LJ orders food in a diner, forgetting to get his change. To their dismay, the waitress follows LG all the way to their car and happens to recognize Lincoln. While walking away, the waitress gives one last look in their direction and rushes to call the police. Lincoln quickly suggests that they abandon their car soon since the waitress possibly got its details. LG apologizes for forgetting the change and says that they can get another car. The two have a short argument as Lincoln continues to dismiss all of LG's suggestions. Agitated, LG is about to leave the car, but Lincoln stops him. He apologizes and the two of them go back to driving for a few more miles before eventually abandoning their car. Lincoln and LG walk away from the road to avoid being detected. After some time, the two arrive at a train station in Willcox, Arizona. They settle in a corner, trying to avoid the attention of the civilians. Unfortunately, a man reading a newspaper across from them recognizes Lincoln's face. The man gets up and presumably goes to notify a police officer. Soon, an officer arrives, eyeing Lincoln and LJ suspiciously. As a result, Lincoln and LJ start running away from the station. While running through a bridge, LG crashes through a police vehicle, allowing the police to corner them on the side of the road. The two are forced onto the ground as the police officers in Willcox arrest them. Lincoln faces LJ and apologizes to him repeatedly before they get taken into custody.